Welcome back to another episode of That's Business. Today's guest is yours truly, your host, Angela Buccellato. Now, on this podcast today, we're going to talk about transitioning industries and how do you bring that up on your resume, on LinkedIn, on an interview, or how do you even just straight up transition industries? How do you figure out what you can do? This is a topic I'm getting a lot more of. I have many clients who they're not staying in the jobs for 20 years. There have been studies that come out that say if you stay in your job for 10, 20 years and you're not regularly getting a raise, you're actually losing money, which is so crazy to think about. And this is not to say that people that stay with their companies for life are worse employees or looked down upon or anything like that. It's just looking at it financially. If you've been at a company for 20 years and you've only received, a 5% increase or a $5,000 raise, you are losing money. With inflation, with everything going on in the world, just increasing in pricing, you have to look out for yourself. You absolutely have to. So this is why we're getting a lot of people transitioning industries. I've helped a lot of teachers transition out of the traditional school setting because they are maxed out in capacity, in salary, and everything like that. So let's talk about it. Let's dive into how do you transition careers. So if you're sitting there and you're like, I'm not really liking this. I'm not really into this career anymore. I'm not energized. Work's just kind of boring. And I get it. You're not going to love your job every day. I don't love my job every day, and I literally own the company. But if it comes to the point where you are just dreading going to work, you are just unmotivated, you can't bring yourself to get anything done, and you are just sick of everything happening in your day-to-day operations of the work you're doing, it's time to look at transitioning industries. So what do you do first? When you're transitioning industries, you want to start, and I love a good old school checklist, but it's up to you how you want to put things together. Figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are. And I want this to be personally and professionally, because you should not have to be one person on the corporate side and one person on the professional side, or professional side, I should say. Because you spend at least 40 hours a week at a company, why should you try to be someone you're not? And I get it. There are some jobs where you have to be prim and proper and professional, and that's fine. But if you're trying to hide who you are with your coworkers, that's a problem. I had a client who unfortunately told her company for 9 years that her girlfriend was actually her boyfriend. She never said the term girlfriend around them because she was afraid of the repercussions. I just can't fathom how we want to deal with that now in today's day and age. So if you're not feeling comfortable going to work, if you feel like you can't be yourself, if you're feeling all of these feelings, it's time to transition. So first step, let's figure out your strengths and weaknesses. What do you like to do? Do you like to read? And I don't love the term hobbies because hobbies is such a, term that's like, you need to practice it. If you read a book once a year and you like reading, that's fine. I'm not going to call you out on it. But you need to start with what your strengths, your weaknesses, what do you like, what don't you like, personal or professional. And then you should do a tally, do an audit of your day-to-day. Whether you're still in a corporate role, what do you like doing? If you're a stay-at-home parent, what brings you joy during your day? What angers you throughout your day? What upsets you throughout your day? And you should have an ongoing list. You need to have a career journal, a career document, a career something. I'm a pen and paper girly, so I love a good excuse to buy a new notebook so I can think of my ideas. I send a Slack message to myself if I have a new idea or something I want to get done. Just whatever's going to keep yourself organized. So after you do your strengths and weaknesses and you keep that going for a few days, start looking at companies. Start looking at what you're bought into. Do you really like the mission of Tom's? Do you really like the mission of, or do you like, let's say, professional sports team? What do you like doing and why? Look around at your desk, look around your house, your condo, your apartment. What products bring you joy? My dog brings me joy. I've looked at the companies of her favorite toys and what we like doing. This is a great start. Then you should narrow it down to 5 to 10 companies. Narrow 5 to 10 companies of you like their mission, you like what they offer and what they do and what they stand for. And of this list, so you have your list of companies, you have your list of skills, you have to do some research or hire a career coach. So when you have your list of skills, then you should start looking up jobs that need these skill sets. So if that's problem solving, client relations, interactions, fundraising, whatever, look at what roles are available and what you'd be a good fit for. There are millions of jobs out there in just about every industry we can think about. It can be very overwhelming, so I highly recommend hiring a career coach or someone that can help you navigate where your skills transition. If you're looking to totally 180 your career, I'm not saying it's impossible to do. You can do it, but you need to make sure your resume, all of your pieces are together that showcase where your experience aligns. So for a lot of my, let's just say, I'm going to take teachers, for example. A lot of my teachers that transition out of the classroom, I looked at what they like to do. One client in particular was very data-driven, loved to develop curriculum, loved looking at data to make a decision. So we looked at the pieces of her job, and I really decided she should go into user experience, user design. And that's where she's like, I don't have those skill sets. I'm like, wait. Did you or did you not design this curriculum? Did you or do you not do this? There are so many skills in your day-to-day roles and the experiences you've had that you're looking past and don't realize how valid that is for a new opportunity. So this is where you need to tailor this. You need to make sure on your resume, on your LinkedIn, on your documents that it's showing what you have to offer. So as you look through that, you identify the companies. Sometimes the position you're interested in, they may not have too many openings. So that's why I'm telling you to look at the 5 to 10 companies you're interested in. Look on LinkedIn, look on Glassdoor, look on wherever, and see what types of titles their employees have. And where would you fit in their organizational structure? That's what you have to think about. In this process, it's not overnight. You are not going to wake up and say, I'm going to go into this. And if you do, I love that journey for you. And I wish you all the best because it does happen for some people, but not many. And after you identify this, think of a strategic plan of how you're going to get there. If you want to get out of your job in the next 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, give yourself time to get there. You don't want to be at the point where you're like, oh my gosh, I got laid off at work. I had no idea this was going to happen. I'm devastated. It does happen. I've had so many clients lately just tell me, oh, I got laid off this morning. I didn't see it coming. Oh, this happened to me. I didn't know this was going to happen. It's awful. So you need to make sure you're ready to go. It's psychologically damaging enough to have to go through a layoff or have to look for a new job, or if you're in a toxic environment and you need to transition out. You have to set aside some time to work on this. And if it's the weekend, if it's a half hour a night, it doesn't matter, but you want to look through this. So that's a starting point. Now, if you're sitting here and you're listening to this or standing, whatever you're doing, walking, I also want you to think about how, if you're wanting to transition back into the workforce. I've had clients that are returning parents to the workforce. I've had clients who had to take care of a sick family member that took a year or so off. I did have a client who actually went for cancer treatment, who's in remission. Woo! But you have to think about what you've done in that time that's related to your job. So as recruiters, I will be real. We are trained to find negative marks on the resume. Why don't I want to hire you? And what I mean by a gap is over a year. I don't care if it's 6 months, 7 months, 2 months, 1 month. That's fine. It takes a few months to find a job. But what I want to see is why have you not been, air quote, working in the last 3 years? So what we did on one client in particular's resume who has not had a job, was a stay-at-home parent for 10 years, which is incredible. And she felt so blessed she was able to do that. What we put on there were all of the volunteer organizations she was part of, the things for her church, for her kiddo's school. We put all of those under her work experience because it is work experience. Even if you're not paid for the experience, you're still working in a professional capacity. So put that on there. You also want to think about other things you've done. She also ran her house. So we talked about calendar management, doctor's appointments, just juggling 5,000 tasks at once. You are a true project manager and operations manager if you're a stay-at-home parent. So we have to phrase that on the resume. If there's things where if you're like, Angela, I haven't done anything related, I don't know what to do, I would argue with you and say, You do have the skill sets. It's just a matter of who can pull out those skill sets from you to make it resume speak, because they are on there. So what you want to do is talk through it. If you're really adamant that, hey, I haven't done anything, then you'd maybe want to consider a cover letter. But when you're transitioning careers or returning back to the workforce, these trends change all the time. It's not the same job market we saw 5 years ago. It's not the same job market 10 years ago, 15, 20. You get the point. You have to stay up to date on these or work with a professional that does this for a living. But when it comes to transitioning careers, you have to make it easy for me to say yes. And what I mean by saying yes is make me say yes to want to bring you in for an interview. So hold my hand of how your experience relates. With the whole rise in applicant tracking systems, we're talking about putting keywords on your resume. If my job title is technical recruiter, but a job says talent acquisition professional, I'm just going to change it to talent acquisition professional. I'm just playing the synonym game, or as I was just called a thesaurus on a last meeting. That's what you have to do. So when you're working through this, I want you to make sure you're aligned with what you want to do. And something to call out, if you need to take a job that's maybe not in your career path, maybe you're a project manager and you need to take on a new job as a bartender or DoorDash or something that's quick cash, do it. It is so expensive to live. Everything's increased. Inflation's been crazy. So you really need to do what's best for you. Get that money in the door so then you can find the right opportunity. You don't want to jump at the first one that comes your way unless it's perfect. I've had clients that had the perfect opportunity come their way. That's okay to do. But you want to make sure it's the opportunity you want. It's going to be good for you. Just had a lovely client. Oh my gosh, it took her so long to find a new job just with how the market was going. And she took a new job after selling her company. And she hated it. It was severely underpaying, was working crazy hours, and it was just awful for her. But when we sat down and figured out what she needed to do and what she should focus on when she's looking for jobs, it came so easy to her. So just make sure, do your research. Instead of, I hope they like me. No, I hope you like the company because your time is just as valuable. And if you want to transition careers, you want to get into something that maybe you don't have as much experience in, or you just have personal experience, that's still great. I started writing resumes as a little side hustle that I wasn't even getting paid for at first. So don't feel like you need to have the formal title, the formal training. Obviously, if you're going for a lawyer or doctor, yeah, you need the actual training, but you're picking up what I'm throwing down. So when you're transitioning careers, talk to people, have conversations, and don't be defensive. I have a tendency to sometimes be defensive. I really take a step back, and instead of questioning why someone's questioning me, understand where they're coming from, understand why they're asking you these questions, and they have your best interests in mind, and start writing notes. We have a ton of great ideas that we just let go on the wayside. As I mentioned, I send myself a message. If I have a great idea, I text my partner and say, hey, this is a note for me, but I need to remember it. So please remind me to remember it and write it down in my notebook when I get home. That's just held me accountable. Not all my ideas are good ideas. Believe me, a lot of them are not good. So what I want to do is really focus on what these ideas are, where I could transition careers, and where this is applicable to me is what markets we can get into, what services we can provide to our clients, what ideas I have for this podcast. I mean, I just sent a message to my employees saying, what should we talk about and how should we strategically plan for this? You want to bring other people in that support you, that understand your value and are not making you feel bad about yourself, rather making you feel good and feel inspired. There's always going to be naysayers and people that are just, oh, you're going to do that. Are you sure? How are you going to leave this comfortable job? It's all scary. Take a risk. You really need to do it. Because if your mental health is suffering, your physical health, like some clients I have, you need to get out. And if you need to work odd end jobs to get you to where you need to be, that's okay to do. Okay? Listen to that again. It's okay to work odd end jobs to do what you need to do. And as always, if you're struggling with career coaching or you just feel absolutely lost or deer in the headlights with this whole process, schedule a free consultation with me. I'm so happy to walk you through your experience and see where this makes sense for you, don't be afraid to reach out. Think of the opportunity cost. Is it going to cost you more money trying to figure it out, or if you pay someone to just do it for you? And as always, head to our website, listen to this podcast every Tuesday for new insights, and message me. If there's a topic you want to hear, let me know. But as always, good luck on your job search. You got this. And tune in again next week for another episode of That's Business.
If you're looking for a career change and you're not sure where to start, the Resume Rescue can help. Sure, there's no such thing as the perfect fit for everyone, but here at the Resume Rescue, we're on a mission to find the perfect solution for you. Whether it's changing careers, updating a resume, learning LinkedIn, or practicing interviewing, we have you covered. Find us online at theresumerescue.com and find all of our contact info in our show notes.